Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So, what exactly is P0263? The official description is rear injector circuit low. In simple terms, your motorcycle's brain, the EC, has detected a problem with the electrical signal going to the fuel injector for the rear cylinder. This could mean the signal is weak, intermittent, or completely gone. When this happens, the rear cylinder isn't getting the right amount of fuel, which can lead to a whole host of performance issues like rough idling, misfires, poor acceleration, or even the engine stalling. It's definitely something you want to get sorted out. First things first, let's locate the culprit. On most Harley models, the rear fuel injector is mounted right at the intake port for the rear cylinder, typically on the throttle body assembly. It is usually held in place by a small bracket or clip and has an electrical connector plugged into it. Visually, it looks very similar to the front injector, so just be sure you're looking at the one on the rear cylinder to avoid any confusion. Now, let's get into the diagnosis. The first and simplest step is always a thorough visual inspection. Start by tracing the wiring harness that goes to the rear injector. You're looking for anything that seems out of place. Are there any signs of chafing where the wires might have rubbed against the frame or engine components? Are there any visible breaks, cuts, or melted spots on the insulation? Pay close attention to areas where the harness bends or is secured by zip ties, as these are common stress points. Also, take a close look at the connector itself. Is it fully seated and locked in place? Is there any corrosion, dirt, or oil inside the connector? Sometimes, a poor connection is all it takes to trigger this code. If the visual inspection doesn't reveal anything obvious, the next step is to test the injector itself. For this, you'll need a multimeter. First, carefully unplug the electrical connector from the rear injector. Set your multimeter to the OEM setting to measure resistance. Now, touch the two probes of your multimeter to the two pins on the injector. You should get a resistance reading that falls within the manufacturer's specified range. This can vary slightly between models, but it's typically somewhere between 11 and 16 OEMs for a good injector. If you get a reading that's very low, like close to 0, it indicates a short circuit inside the injector. If you get a very high reading or an open circuit reading, it means the internal coil is broken. In either of these cases, the injector is faulty and needs to be replaced. But what if the injector's resistance checks out? Okay, this suggests the problem might be with the wiring or the signal. Coming from the ECM, this is where a handy little tool called a Noid light comes in. A Noid light is basically a small test light that plugs directly into the injector harness connector. It's designed to flash when the ECM sends a signal to fire the injector. So, you'll plug the Noid light into the rear injector's wiring connector, then start the engine or have someone crank it for you. As the engine turns over, you should see the Noid light flash consistently. If the light flashes brightly and steadily, it tells you that the ECM is sending the proper signal, and the wiring up to that point is good. This would point back to a problem with the injector itself. Even if it passed the resistance test, perhaps it's mechanically stuck. However, if the Noid light is dim, flickers erratically, or doesn't light up at all, it confirms a problem in the circuit. This could be a broken wire somewhere between the ECM and the injector, a bad pin at the ECM connector, or in rare cases, a problem with the injector driver inside the ECM itself. At this point, you do need to use your multimeter again to perform continuity tests on the wires, running from the ECM to the injector connector to pinpoint the exact location of the breaker short. So, let's talk about the fix. If your diagnosis found damaged wiring, the repair is to fix that section. For a small break, you can carefully splice, solder, and heat shrink the wire to ensure a durable, weather-resistant repair. If a large section of the harness is damaged, you might consider replacing that part of the harness if the connector was the issue. Sometimes just cleaning the contacts with a good electrical contact cleaner and reseating it firmly is enough. If the connector itself is broken, it will need to be replaced. And, of course, if you determine that the injector itself is faulty, the only solution is to replace it with a new one. Fixing a code like P0263 can seem intimidating, but by following a logical diagnostic process, you can systematically track down the root cause and get your Harley running smoothly again. It's all about being patient and methodical. I hope this guide was helpful for anyone tackling the P0263 code. If you have any questions or have dealt with this code yourself, drop a comment down below and share your experience. Do not forget to like this video if you found it useful and subscribe for more Harley tech tips. Thanks for watching, and ride safe.